Holly Waxman with Housing Happenings with Holly, and I'm so happy all of you could join, and we're really lucky to have some really special guests today. We have Ryan Nelson with AmeriFirst Financial. I'm Holly Waxman with Hague Partners 72 Sold, and we have Adam here with us and a super special guest here that I'm so excited to have and introduce you, Dirk Swift, who is a program director with Home Plus and is going to help us help our buyers here today buy some homes with some financing that doesn't necessarily come out of our pockets.
True up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, Holly.
Thank you.
Nice to be here.
Great to have you. So, Ryan.
Well, I'm excited to have Dirk here. I've known Dirk for probably 15 years, and you've been running the down payment assistance program. I think it's the number one program for DPA, down payment assistance, which, any mortgage that's done, there's always two sets of costs. You have down payment, you have closing costs. And so the Home Plus program, I think, is the number one program in Arizona for DPA.
I would think over the last 8 years, we've helped a little over 38,000 homeowners.
Yeah,
that's a lot.
Yeah.
That's huge.
In Arizona?
Yeah.
Here in Arizona? Oh my goodness.
Now you're just in Arizona, right?
Just in Arizona. I have peers in other states, so we're not unique to Arizona, but we geographically stay within the state of Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
And so the Home Plus program, I think it's available anywhere in Arizona, or is it just geographically Maricopa County, or
Every county, every city, every zip code, basically any property type, with the exception of 3 to 4 units. You name the property type, the location, wherever it's at. You don't have to buy a specific property that we have on a list. You don't have to buy in a specific area. It's statewide.
How do we qualify? How do we know which buyers to suggest this to?
A kid that we have 3 heavy lift qualifications. Homebuyer has to make less than $122,100. That's annual income.
Okay.
And that's total income for as many borrowers on the loan. So one borrower, 122.1, 2 borrowers, 122.1, et cetera, et cetera. They have to have a 640 credit score, which they're probably going to have anyway to qualify for the mortgage. And they need to take a homebuyer education course. If they do those 3 things, everything else just follows to traditional or typical mortgage guidelines, Fannie, Freddie, FHA, VA, et cetera.
And what is the income again?
122.1. $122,100 for annual income.
so basically someone cannot make a smidge over 10 grand a month, which is pretty generous. I know over the years I've been involved, and I've known Dirk for, like I said, 15 years. I've probably done in that time period 150 transactions, helping homeowners get into a property, and what Home Plus does is it gives you money that helps assist the borrower with their down payment, and oftentimes with their closing costs as well. Typical program will assist a buyer in 3, 4, or 5% towards the transaction. So on a typical FHA transaction, the down payment's always the same, which is 3.5%. But if you're getting 5% in down payment assistance money, your entire down payment of 3.5% is already covered by the Home Plus program, and you have 1.5% left over that can go towards the closing costs. So it's an amazing program. Like I said, I've probably done well over 100, down payment assistance programs, for clients over the years with Dirk and the Home Plus program, and it's a great program. And now the exciting thing for me as a lender is, we're seeing that seller concessions are coming back. I think we talked about it last week. 45% of transactions are having seller paid closing costs. So, there is an opportunity for buyers that want to buy now. If you're getting 5% in down payment assistance monies from the Home Plus program, and you're getting some seller concessions from the seller on the property you're buying, you can literally get into a property with no money down. And that hasn't happened in years. We haven't seen seller concessions on contracts for
Right.
a good 2 years, and now it's just coming back because of the state of the market. So
And some of the trends that have happened over the last year or so, because it's an interesting year in dynamics we're in, is that the program was always created for somebody that didn't have down payment or closing costs. Simple as
Correct.
that.
Right.
Basically, we're replacing grandma or dad or somebody else that helped with that first time movement into home ownership. But we have a lot of buyers now that don't have enough money, and they're using our money and their money to augment how much they put down or to help them qualify, buy, et cetera. We don't have an asset test for the program. So you don't have to prove you have no money to use the program. You don't have to use all your money first and then come use the program. So we have buyers that use their money and our money to help them qualify. We
Right.
have borrowers when sellers weren't making any type of concessions, et cetera. It was more important on that when there was repair issues that someone might want to do when they get into the house. They keep their money. They use our money to get in, do those repairs later. We have people now, because rates have increased, that can't qualify, but they have a few dollars in the bank that maybe can pay off a credit card or two and help them qualify. Then they're out of money. So they're using their money to clean themselves up and then coming in using our money for down payment. There's a lot of creative ways other than simply there's no money, we don't have money for down payment.
Right. No, that's fabulous. The other thing is, though, if you make $122,000 or less, right,
Right.
then you qualify.
You have there's a program, there's an option available.
Right, which
Yeah.
is so great. I
Yeah.
mean, especially if you're renting, because I know for myself, I've made all of my wealth through real estate, you
Sure.
know, and it was my first home that I bought, and I stayed in there for 2 years, and, you know, then I fixed it up a little bit, and we sold it, and we just kept moving up, and, you know.
So is there a payback time frame on this, or do you have to stay in the home a certain amount of time? Where does this money come from, and what's the course after you get into your home?
Those are good questions because we do not receive. The Arizona Industrial Development Authority is the administrator of the program, and that is a political subdivision of the state, administered or developed or created under the Arizona Finance Authority, which is a state agency. It's a long story that basically says we're a state agency that runs the program. We do not receive any taxpayer funds for the program. No federal, no state, et cetera. All the money has to be made within the program through our operations. So what we will do is that we will actually, once the first mortgage is closed, et cetera, we will actually buy that loan, package that up into mortgage-backed securities, and sell that into the secondary market as a way to generate funds. Just like a for-profit company does, we do it the same way, and that's how we fund the down payment. What we normally do, and there can be different terms depending upon the money or how we decide to put that out there, but generally speaking, we put a lien on the property for the amount of assistance. So let's just say there's $15,000 that we provide in assistance. It's forgiven over 36 months.
Okay.
So in 36 months, it's completely forgiven. If something happens within those first 36 months, it's forgiven 1/36 a month or a little every month. And if they refinance or sell before that, they pay it back.
Gotcha.
Now,
So
we have some now that are, because the dynamics of the market are just crazy, and I could talk for 3 hours about this year and how the financial markets have moved, which has made it very difficult. But we have some product right now that is non-forgivable, and that would have to be paid back at some point in the future.
But even on the non-forgivable, there's no monthly payments on it, and there's no interest accruing as well.
Exactly. It's just simple lien.
Yeah, which is nice for a buyer because you're able to use money that doesn't it doesn't hurt you in qualifying because you don't have to qualify with another additional monthly payment, even though it's a small amount of money. Let's say it's $15,000.
Correct.
And you don't have any additional monies owed when you sell the property. And the one thing I want to note on the forgivable portion, the 136 that he talks about. So $15,000 is given and someone decides, you know what, I'm going to sell the house after 2 years. You only owe $5,000 you have to pay back.
Yeah.
2/3 of it you pay back. Every year, 1/3 of it is forgiven until after 3 years, you don't owe anything on that.
that's fantastic. And is this mainly and only for primary residents?
Exactly.
So you couldn't get this if you were going to buy
Owner-occupied
a secondary, like a rental or something.
No, it'd have to be primary residence. It doesn't matter how long you are a resident of Arizona. You could have drove across the border from Cali and bought a house today. As long as it's your primary residence, we can assist you with that.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Well, and I think some of the changes have happened over the years with Home Plus. In the past, you had to be a first-time buyer. And I don't think you have to be a first-time buyer now. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And that changed, what, a couple of years
That's
ago?
great.
The way we used to finance this brought with it a lot of clunky rules. And since we've morphed into a different way to finance, a lot of those clunky rules do not apply. So you don't have to be a first-time homebuyer. Although 96% are, you do not have to be a first-time homebuyer. That makes it easier as it relates to qualifying, as it relates to documentation. You know,
Right.
I mean, you don't have to get 3 years tax returns to prove you've never owned a home. You used to have household income and have to calculate that. That means if someone's not on the loan, you have to get, grandma's social security statement, et cetera. It just became very cumbersome.
Right.
And so when we used that type of financing in the past, we would assist hundreds of homeowners a year. Now we're thousands of homeowners a year because it's easier to use.
Yeah, that's
great.
wonderful.
And it's the best thing is just to be able to have the right people to contact. And it's such a benefit to buyers. I mean, they can have a home, they can, be building their wealth, they can have control and stability in their life, which could bring health as well.
Exactly. I mean, that wealth building, we all know as it relates to real estate, and it gives everybody an opportunity. And those first-time home buyers have so much headwinds now and over the last few years that it's just, they need the help. And if we can provide the help either through this down payment assistance program, or even if a realtor doesn't use it, they recognize what it is and is not afraid of it. That's the benefit as well. I mean, I have never heard Dave Ramsey say, you shouldn't take money out of your 401k to buy a house, but I have some bias toward down payment assistance because people don't understand what it is, and they shouldn't.
Yeah. Here's a question that comes up quite a bit when we're working with people that are potential future home buyers. Maybe clients right now, they're selling their home. They wanted to capitalize on the market, but they want to wait for interest rates to come down. What would, between both of you gentlemen, would be a good game plan that we could recommend to future home buyers that say, hey, I want to wait till the interest rates come down, out of this 7-8% that it's going to go to that in their head. Maybe I want to wait a year. What's a kind of a good step-by-step game plan for these future home buyers to start doing today if they want to maybe get a home in the next 6 to 12 months?
Well, it's a great question, Adam. There's no right or wrong answer to it. Simply put, you look at all the economic forecasts that are out there and where rates are forecasted to go. They're forecasted to come back down, and they're forecasted to be, hopefully, I've heard some of the higher ups at Fannie Mae have said, they see rates getting back in the next 12 to 18 months into the 5% range. And it really is going to be dictated primarily by inflation numbers that come out through economic reports that, the Fed monitors and watches very closely. Like I talked about before, I think the most important thing isn't necessarily the rate. The most important thing is what price you're buying the home at. And there's significant reductions in prices right now. You find the right house for the right price. You got to compare what that payment's going to be compared to where you're paying rent right now. And if it works for you, it works. And you're buying the house at a significant discount. Real estate long-term is probably one of the best investments you'll ever make in your life. And long-term, it's been a steady upward trajectory where, no one's gone wrong with it yet. And if you look at the economy overall, I mean, the cost to simply build a home, that's not coming down. Maybe we're going to see some inflation numbers get a little bit better and the cost of materials dip a little bit, but I don't see any dramatic reductions in the price of concrete or lumber or materials to actually build a home. So I think it's critical to look at, what you can afford now. And as a buyer, the advice I would give someone is look to see what you can qualify for now. And if you can find that right home that works for you, jump in and get into a home and be an owner. And the great thing about the program, there's no prepayment penalties. You can refinance any loan at any time. So if rates come down, then it's time to look at saving money from where you're at currently today. But the first step for any homeowner is just simply looking at what you can qualify for today and see if you can make it work. The Home Plus program only has a 640 minimum FICO requirement,
which is great.
Which a lot of programs require much higher than that. So it's very generous. The income limitations are very generous as well. And I know in working with Dirk over the years, that number was below 100,000 3-4 years ago on the max qualifying, and now it's up to almost 10,000 a month. And that's and you don't have to be a first-time home buyer anymore, and you literally are using money that's given to you with no interest, no payments. I mean, it's fantastic.
It's a no-brainer. And the bottom line is we all need to live somewhere.
Yeah.
So why not live in a home that you own, that you're in control of, that you can provide stability to, that you don't have somebody controlling you? We live in America. Why not utilize what America gives us? We're all lucky.
Well, and back to Adam's question about, hey, so what if you're waiting for rates to come back down? Well, you can wait, but as rates start coming back down, you're going to see home prices stabilize, and you're going to see them go back up. So you're never going to buy a stock at the highest price, and you're never going to sell it at the lowest price. Probably the same with real estate. Being able to time the market's virtually impossible. If you know that you love a place, you have to have somewhere to live. Everybody pays a mortgage. Okay, you either pay your own or you pay somebody else's. If you're renting, you're paying somebody else's. So if you find the right place that works for you and you can qualify, right now is a great time to buy. The prices of homes have come down. They're way more attractive than they were 6, 9, 12 months ago. You're going to save a lot of money. You're going to get a good deal, and you're probably going to be able to negotiate some seller concessions. So you're coming out with less money out of pocket. Half of your half of your overall outlay of cash on a mortgage is, not half, but the two parts, down payment and closing costs. Your closing costs can be paid for by a seller. Your down payment can be paid for by Home Plus. So it sounds like a no-brainer to me. And literally, if you can get into a property with no money out of pocket.
Why not? This week I was with a buyer, and she was looking at homes. You spoke with her, and she was going to pay rent. And by the time she figured out what her mortgage was going to be, what other concessions and down payments we can give her, and she counted her, there probably was some tax benefits. I mean, it just makes no sense not to.
And we have a very robust forward-facing consumer site called homeplusaz.com. There's a lot of tools on there, buy now and wait, my credit score isn't up to, what do I need to do, etc. One of the requirements for the program is the homebuyer education. And you would think that would come across as a burden to someone buying. But our surveys and feedback is that they like it so much. The buyers like that education so much that we have people that actually take it that are years away from buying a home because it helps them through the process of understanding, et cetera. So that information, that education component helps them as well get ready, get prepared, et cetera. And, I have kids in the home buying age, and, the last few years with the inventory has been tough.
Very tough.
But if you can either know what you can qualify for, like Ryan said, and then you have maybe a targeted area or specific property you're looking for, maybe you wait for that to come across your desk. Maybe it comes in 2 months, maybe it comes in 6 months. But that's advice I give my kids.
Well, and everything you're talking about from a consumer standpoint tells me that it really behooves someone to work with a professional. If you want to buy a property, you need to be working with a real estate agent that knows the area you're looking in, that is full-time, they're engaged, and knows how to negotiate and is on top of the market. And they can help you find that property that may pop up that, it may only be there for a short period of time. Same thing on the lending standpoint. You got to work with someone that if your credit score isn't there, they know how to help you increase that. They give you the right advice. But first and foremost, just having this education and knowing about the program, knowing what's possible, understanding the guidelines, that's always going to be step one to home ownership.
Right. And I know for myself, I always try to treat my clients like friends and family and make the client come first. So, and that's always behooved me very well. And then, of course, I feel lucky to have my team that's always here to back me up and give the good advice as well.
Dirk, do you have to have a property identified before you can apply for that, or can a buyer come to you and go, okay, I want to qualify for this program, and then go out and search for a house?
That's a good question. Thank you. There is no direct application that is made with me whatsoever. Everything is done through our delegated and approved lenders. So they don't have to come to me first to see if they qualify. They work with Ryan, see if they qualify for the mortgage, and he will assist them with the Home Plus requirements, et cetera. So at some point, obviously, they have to identify a property so we can move forward in the qualifying process, but they don't have to do that first to see if they meet the requirements. The requirements are those three the income limit, the minimum credit score, and the home buyer education. Everything else is Fannie, Freddie, FHA. So you need a mortgage professional to help you through that.
Wonderful.
Right.
Perfect.
And normally in my process, when I meet buyers, I do call Ryan or the other lenders that that we're working with and consult us to give us the right advice.
Like Dirk was saying, it's super simple. There is no difference in closing on a loan with down payment assistance in closing on a regular mortgage. It's all the same. So, once a buyer is qualified to go buy and has an approval letter, they can choose to use Home Plus or not. You just have to make sure they meet the minimum standards if they're going to do that.
Nice. Yeah. Wonderful. That's great. What a great program, and very creative on how the workaround. Because it used to be, did it used to be a kind of a grant, a government-backed grant at all?
Yes, and it all goes back to the way it was financed. And we used to use something called mortgage revenue bonds that had a lot of requirements from the IRS, which caused clunkiness, and that clunkiness caused people to say, "I don't want to touch it." And quite frankly, I wouldn't blame them. But when we morph this into a more user-friendly, almost more in line with the lending industry, I mean, it's almost more of a wholesale mortgage product to the lender now, as opposed to this
Which is great.
Grant, et cetera, that makes it difficult. So,
And I've even had buyers that have utilized that with concessions and bought homes with no money down.
Sure.
I mean, I literally had buyers who would buy homes, wonderful, beautiful home for their family, for their life, created lots of memories, and it cost them less money than if they went to go rent. Because if you rent, you have to put first month, last month, security deposit, cleaning deposit. With this, if we can utilize the concessions and the down payment program, lots of times we can come in with no money down.
exactly.
I love it. Great. What's happening in the market right now? Things are panning out a little bit better than it were a couple weeks ago.
Well, right now we're just we're waiting for more economic data to come out. We've got a big December on schedule. The three big inflationary indicators that the market really moves the market more than anything. You've got your CPI numbers, your consumer price index. You've got your personal consumption expenditures, your PCE report, and you've got your PPI numbers. So we saw favorable numbers a few weeks ago with CPI and with the PPI numbers. So we got a big improvement, 2 weeks ago in the marketplace due to those improving. We've got those numbers coming out on December 2nd, the 9th, and the 13th. And then we've got the Federal Reserve meeting on the 13th and 14th of December. So we've got a big, first couple of weeks in December. It's going to really give us a lot more direction. And really the market's going to move and ebb and flow, and rates are going to be dictated based upon the comments of the Fed. And those comments are going to be dictated by numbers on those economic reports that come out. So we're just kind of in a waiting game. Stuff's vacillating back and forth. We've had some nice improvement in the market the last few weeks, and hopefully we stay there and we start to see a little more favorable numbers to continue the momentum that we've got.
Yeah. The question comes up a lot when we're going on our appointments, meeting with sellers and potential home sellers. They question whether it's a good idea to sell their home today and put it on the market, or, the common thing, I probably just want to wait until after the holidays, throw it up there, after the first of the year. The problem with that is twofold. A, that's the typical time when most people put their homes on the market. So if you're questioning, do I wait? Do I sell now? I don't want to be inconvenienced during the holidays. That's a very common thought to have. But really, if you look at it from the true perspective that the people that are in the market looking to buy today between now and the end of the year are probably going to be the most serious buyers in the market, and you have less competition as a seller during that time frame because of that thought process of, let me just hold off. I don't want to, put up the Christmas tree and have people come through and see the home. So the most serious buyers are going to be in the market now, and then you're going to have less competition if you put it on the market now versus after the first of the year. And so I would urge anybody that's out there thinking, kind of on the fence, if they want to sell, if they want to see, where the market's going to be after the first of the year, let us run our process that we do now. Let us identify the buyers that are out there. And I think you'll be a lot more surprised the reaction you're going to get and the offers that you'll get now versus waiting another couple of months when the market becomes flooded again with homes. If you look at the numbers as far as the amount of homes that go on the market, the amount of listings, I know we have the charts. You can't see them on the radio here, but you always have a huge peak of active homes, after the first of the year. I think last year it went up just here in the Valley about 7,000 or 8,000 homes between January and March that are active on the market. So definitely, talk to a lender, talk to Ryan, get that process going and get out there and start house hunting. And you'll probably be able to negotiate better deals too as a buyer right now.
Right. And there are a lot of homes on the market, and real estate, there's always ups and downs, but the bottom line is everybody always needs a home. We live in beautiful, sunny Arizona. Paradise. So I still think it's one of our safest investments, and at least we're utilizing, and enjoying life.
Absolutely.
And how great if you could buy a home that you're going to raise family in and have no money out of pocket. That just sounds like the coolest idea ever.
Exactly.
An easy way to the American dream without, having to save up 10, 20%. Just the programs out there are just unbelievable.
Thank you so much, Dirk.
Thank you.
And everyone else here today. And I want to thank everyone for joining us here in our podcast. Always you can contact myself, Holly Waxman, 602-388-0319. And please join us next week for more housing happenings with Holly.